Hey, everybody, welcome back to another episode of Spider Sound Off. This is Tom.
And this is Porter.
And we are doing a midweek recording. We do have a special guest coming up to get us to not think too much about the men losing to Chicago, which, remember, I asked the question, if we lose that pillow fight game to Chicago, were we the worst team in the A-10? And your answer was...
Yes, we would be.
And we did lose another game. We had a big, giant lead and then decided to...
Yeah, we lost a 15-point lead and a 30-point lead, which is pretty hard to do back-to-back, quite frankly. Just a terrible way to end the season. I know nobody's happy about it. And it's portal time. It's time to start building the roster for next year. Mooney said in his post-game presser, 500 agents have...
His phone's blowing up.
Phone's blowing up. One thought about that is we're in a place now where every player is an asset, and that each of these assets has a price. And there's a price where a player is a good value and a price where a player is not a good value. It's kind of like a stock, right? If you own Amazon or Apple, but you buy it for $500 a share, it's maybe not a good deal. But if you buy it for $100 a share, it's a great deal. So we've got to be thinking now like you're investing in the market, because you got to get the monetary prices right so that you can build the best roster possible to compete going forward. And that is another use for analytics. I'll just throw that out there.
Yeah, Mr. Analytics, Porter Shomo. But I think when it comes to, at some point, it's like what players are available that want to talk to a school that hasn't been to the tournament in a long time.
So what you're saying is we might have to overpay. So if somebody's worth $500,000, but you have to pay them $550 because
I would see there are places where there's slight overpays, but again, we do have great facilities. Virginia's a great state to be in.
Richmond's an awesome city.
This isn't
strong
North Dakota school trying to recruit
strong
people.
Basketball culture, right?
Yeah. So
a lot of reasons. I'm just saying now you're in a market, and the market is not necessarily getting just a player. It's getting a player at a value.
Yeah. And then we have to retain too, which is a big part of, we got to get Argerbright back. At least it sounds like in the post conference that he said he wants to be back. So whether we've already figured that out or we're about to figure that out, like he's a key part. He had a really nice game, which actually was interesting in that game. He hasn't had a lot of games this year where he was big on the assist number. Like we've seen that he can be an elite scorer, but that was a game where he had 6 assists. Like that's where he can really excel and where we can get to more of that, good 2-point shooting. If you've got a point guard who can drive and dish
on the way
versus just drive and score.
For me watching the game, I was driving from an appointment, so I caught the first few minutes with the radio broadcast with, I think it's Bob and Scott that do the radio broadcast. And I think Scott said, one of the challenges we have is we have 3 2 guards and no true 1. And that's an interesting statement. But I think to me, Argerbright's got to be the one on next year's team at 5'11". You just want your one to. He's fast enough. If he can pass it, dish, create a little bit, he can be an elite 1 in the league. I always thought of him as a little bit of a 1, but yeah, we need him to be the one on that team next year. And we need to definitely kind of construct the roster, with a little bit of a different flair, I think, to be more competitive.
So I'm taking a big stand here.
Yeah.
Just getting crazy.
Yeah.
So I think Argerbright is back, but I think the one is a freshman.
Okay, you think it's going to be Deuce Simmons?
Yeah, I think Simmons.
I think Deuce is going to be a great player. I mean, as freshman, it's hard to ask the freshman to step up and run the whole offense, though. It's hard.
Hey, one other Spider basketball note. I don't know if you saw this. Tyler Burton got signed to a 10-day contract with Memphis.
Hey, that's fantastic.
So I know we had Gilliard do that back and forth a little bit. Never really got the full-time contract. But got to go up and down a bunch.
Tyler Burton, who we learned helped bring us Rachel Alstrom.
Yeah, that's right. So it'll be fun to see what Tyler's able to do in the association.
Yeah, absolutely.
Anything else you want to talk about before we bring our guest on?
No, our fingers are crossed for the ladies on Sunday night. Hopefully we get that at large. So stay tuned. Hopefully there's some sort of a listening party somewhere at the university or watching party where we can gather.
Yeah. So we'll spread that information when we get it. But again, we've got a guest coming up. Hopefully it gets us all to forget about the rough season we had, or rough 2 seasons we've had now in a row, and we'll be able to reflect on some of the greatest moments in Spider history.
We have an exciting guest today, folks. Let me tell you a little bit about this great Richmond Spider. He was a sharpshooter, finished his career with 205 made three-pointers, which ranks top 10 in Richmond history. Shot over 40% from deep for his entire career, which is the 6th best mark in the school's record books. His senior year, he made 84 three-pointers, which is tied for 3rd all-time. He started started for our Sweet 16 team back in 2011 and hit one of the great shots in Richmond history, a last-second three against number 16 VCU, which sent a game to overtime where UR went on to win. So join me in welcoming to Spider Sound Off University of Richmond Hall of Famer Darien Brothers.
Thank you guys for having me. Great introduction. Feels like
Hey, well, Porter and I were debating this earlier. We're going to go from that great introduction into a little bit of a downer. I don't know if you saw, but the Spiders did get eliminated from the tournament yesterday. You know, you had this career, and we'll spend a lot more time on it now, where since NCAAs, their freshman and sophomore year, you probably thought it was going to happen every year. And then your junior and senior year, you know, were also kind of part of being eliminated in the A-10 tournament. Like, I'm sure you feel for the players when they go through that and can reflect on it. Like, what is that experience like when you're on the, you know, you're in the A-10 tournament and your season is over and you didn't get to the, you know, the goal that you had all along was to kind of get to the tournament?
Yeah, it's a tough feeling for those guys. You know, I watched the last game versus Duquesne, watched the game against Loyola Chicago, and it's tough. You know, the guys are playing a bunch of games, you know, battling a lot of injuries and stuff, and it's a tough time. It's win or go home. You know, some days you may be clicking and some days you may not. So it was definitely a tough stretch for those guys, but I'm sure a lot of them will be back and, you know, continue playing. So.
Darien, tell us about your recruitment. You started at Benedictine before committing to Richmond, so you're one of the folks that stayed local. You started here, you stayed here. You played with some great players at Benedictine, but tell us about what it's like, you know, playing in front of your hometown crowd.
It's actually awesome. You know, my whole family's there, my parents, my brother, and to be able to have them in the stands supporting me, it's just a great feeling. You know, I feel for a lot of the guys that don't have family. You know, they may catch one game in the season. There would be times we would play in North Carolina and I would have family come down there. So it's just a huge support system. It's nothing
That's
like
awesome. How did we recruit you? Were we early in? Were we late to the game? Who else was recruiting you? Talk us a little bit about that story.
it. Yeah, so a lot of people may not know, but I started my freshman and sophomore year at Monacan High School.
Okay.
So I started there, and it's a funny story because I think it was my sophomore year. We were actually playing against Meadowbrook High School, and Justin Harper was there. So had a pretty decent game, and you know, I saw the coaches, Coach Mooney and Brunt and all those guys in the stands, and I think that's when it actually started. And it didn't kick off until my junior year at Benedictine. Played for a wonderful coach, Sean McAloon, who's at IMG right now. So I think it just started with Benedictine. We played a national schedule, had Ed Davis on our team, who was a UNC star, NBA vet. Bradford Burgess played at VCU. So we had a lot of guys around us, you know, helping me, you know, play and get, you know, recruited and stuff like that. And then the AAU circuit. So I would guess my sophomore year was when Richmond started recruiting me, and then it's been home ever since. So
I'm curious, if you look at kind of during your career at U of R, you mentioned Justin Harper. There's Ryan Butler, who's kind of a local star, Trey Davis. Like there was a kind of a Richmond feel, and now we've got Aiden Argerbright, who's from Richmond, and Jaden Daughtry, another Benedictine guy. Like what is that like when you're did it make it just that much more comfortable that there are Richmond folks kind of in the program, or like what is that experience like? Because I think you don't see that a lot of schools where there's kind of a little bit of a local element.
yeah, it's definitely great. You know what Coach Mooney's done with recruiting the local guys. And we're all, you know, close, you know, on and off the court, you know, when we were playing. And it says a lot about the program that there's a lot of great basketball players in the Richmond area. So I think that speaks a huge volume. So.
Nice. Taking you back to the 2010 season for a second. Freshman year, team goes 26-9. You got Kevin Anderson on the team. He's a junior. You got David Gonzalves. You had big wins against the top 20 Florida team. You played Temple. What was it like being a freshman on that team?
Yeah, that was honestly an eye opener for me. You know, coming from high school, you know, straight into college, playing behind a bunch of talented guys. You know, Ka and Gonzo. It was just an eye opener for me. Like I said, just being able to sit back and be a sponge and watch those guys, how hard they play and how hard they compete, and you know, wanting the younger guys to get better. And I think for me coming in, you know, I didn't know the offense at first, so I was able to sit back and learn and, I would play one-on-one against the guys, just trying to sharpen my game up. And then, once I got my opportunity, I came in and trusted myself. The guys trusted me. So that goes a long way.
That's awesome.
What was that NCAA tournament experience like? This you were a 7 seed. I'm trying to think if we've ever been higher than that.
No,
but like, so we're a top 25 team. There's a lot of attention. 7 seed. That game didn't go the way you'd like. But just take us back to kind of, the trip out, kind of what that pregame, kind of your first NCAA tournament. Kind of, I'm sure your eyes wide open going into that.
Yeah, it's awesome. And, I talk to a lot of my buddies and stuff, and it's not too often that you get to make it to the NCAA tournament. So to say, that you've done it twice is a huge accomplishment. And, for the Richmond program, it's huge, especially from the past and the history, going to the tournament, beating some top, 25 teams, and then getting a 7 seed. It was definitely fun and a huge, atmosphere for us. Like you said, it didn't go as planned, but we got there. It was a fun experience. The guys, the camaraderie, it was awesome. Something we still talk about today. So
it's interesting too, thinking back, like where the Cinderella team reputation, and then all of a sudden you're top 25 and you're 7. Like that wasn't, you almost had to kind of get out of that Cinderella mode, right? Because you're now the favorite. I think we were in Vegas to watch that game too. I think that St. Mary's game. They had a center that was kind of dominated, right?
Yeah. Still remember him. Yep.
So take back this. So now kind of, you lost that game, but you're kind of a freshman. You're like, hey, I'm coming back. Like, if you can, like from that game through the summer, like how did that like all prepare you, and not just you, but obviously the teammates that were coming back, how did that prepare you for the next year, which is kind of one of the magical years in Richmond's history?
Yeah, it was great. I've always wanted to be known as, a hard worker, a great teammate. So, I got in the gym. That's how I was raised, to always outwork the next person. I had all the resources. My dad used to, take me to speed training and have trainers. So I kind of carried that over with me to the college level as well. So in the summers, you kind of on campus by yourself. I live 10 minutes away. So, I stay on campus and in the gym literally every night. For the summer and, gearing up for the next summer. Spoke to Mooney, I had a big role to fill. So a lot of those guys were leaving, so I had to step up my game. So.
Yeah, it's really, David Gonzalves, one of our great shooters of all time. Like, so he was that senior leader on that team. So some big shoes to fill.
Oh yeah.
As a sophomore.
Oh yeah. He was great. Great role model for me. And it's something that's super funny is, this guy is such a hard worker. He would play a full game. We would come back from a road win or a road game, and he would play me one-on-one. So I think that kind of opened my eyes up to this is what it takes to be a leader, to help the younger generation. So I applaud him for that. I even got to play against him a couple of times overseas, so that was pretty cool.
That
Nice.
is cool. So 2011, the Sweet 16 team. Let's talk about that for a second. So you come back. You've had work in the gym over the summer. What are kind of the expectations you and the team had going into the season? What were the goals that you set for yourselves?
Yeah, I mean, our goal is always to, make it to the tournament, win an A10 championship. And I think we had such a good group of guys that we knew we could do it. We believed in ourselves. We were all friends off the court, and that stuff takes you a long way on the court as well. That teamwork off the court, everybody hanging out all the time, it kind of brings you together. And it kind of molded our season, really.
You're going into the A10 tournament. I think you were third. I think is the final in the standings, and probably not as clear as the year before that. Like, hey, you're getting an at-large. I'm guessing at least the folks who were talking about it, probably not the team, but others talking about it, were saying the year before, it's like, oh, you're going to get an at-large. This was a year where kind of winning the A10 tournament, was as critical as ever. So, looking at some of the data there, like, you had top 25 Temple in the semifinals, had a big win then against Dayton, kind of who's always been, since they've been in the A10, kind of a dominant team. And I think, is that our first ever A10 championship?
I am not 100% sure.
I think so.
It might be.
So what was that tournament like? I mean, kind of winning the A10, being a champion, kind of a year after kind of that NCAA tournament. I'm sure that was an awesome celebration.
It was definitely an awesome celebration. Just the competition, man. The A10 conference was so competitive. You know, a lot of people say, "Oh, it's a mid-major," but we competed with some of the, the high major schools. And I think for us, that entire weekend is just a grind. It's a dogfight. Playing against top 25 teams. So I definitely think that was a huge road for us. Beating those guys, setting us up for the tournament. I think that definitely helped us.
Yeah, and I'm guessing you didn't really get to enjoy Atlantic City outside of the
Yeah.
basketball court.
No, it was a business trip.
Yeah, business trip.
Yeah.
So Tom and I we had the fortune of being together for that game against Vanderbilt. We were out in Las Vegas with a bunch of Richmond, grads, and we really, it was just awesome to be together and experiencing the camaraderie of a huge win like that. What do you remember about that Vanderbilt game?
Man, I honestly, it's like a blur to me. We kind of went on a run and we stuck together and we pulled away. And I remember a picture of me and Kevin Anderson that I'll never forget, of us trying to block somebody's shot. Just the momentum of the game and, the back and forth on the big stage. It was awesome. Such a great feeling.
That's awesome.
And when you you win that game against Vanderbilt, where it's now kind of in that Cinderella role again, was there a big celebration, or is it like, hey, you got a game in 2 days? The year before you lost in that first round, so this is your first time with a win, and it's like a quick turnaround.
Yeah, we definitely celebrated in the locker room. But we all knew we were focused, and like you said, we had a game in the next 2 days, so we had to dial it back and turn it back up. So.
And playing Morehead State, who had their own upset in the first round, so it was kind of two underdogs playing each other. Now you're back in the favorite role, I think, heading into that game. Like, what was do you remember? I know it's a long time ago, but the kind of the prep, or kind of what was what you had to watch out for against Morehead State?
Honestly, it was, like I said, it's such a blurry, so long ago. And I just remember Kenneth Fareed, he was huge on the scouting report. So I would say that was one of our biggest challenges in that game. He was projected to go to the NBA and had a great career. So it speaks volumes of the type of caliber team that we were playing against. So.
Yeah, when I look back at that box score, I think it's interesting. Like, you won that in your defense. I mean, I scored like 20 points in the first half, 48 points overall. So that was kind of a defensive shutdown, maybe different than what you had to do against Vanderbilt. Right. Not that you didn't play defense against Vanderbilt, but you couldn't shut that team down like you did Morehead State.
Yeah.
I think of Darien Brothers as a shooter. Like, talk about kind of defense. Like, that's the fans fans want offense, right?
Right.
But like, how much do you pride yourself on your defense and what you learned in your career at U of R, from like the Benedictine defender to what the senior defender Darien Brothers was like?
Okay. Yeah, I always pride myself on defense. Whether it's taking charges, something I love, and just guarding the best guy on the other team, whether it's a 6'8" guy or a 6-foot guy, I'm going to give my best. And, I try, to teach other younger kids, just like, it's all about heart and who wants it more, especially on the defensive end. It's like, it's you and the guy in front of you. Can you stop him? So that was my main goal, is I want to guard the best guy on the other team, no matter what. So
yeah, that's awesome.
So beating Morehead State, now you got Kansas straight ahead of you.
Well, they got to celebrate first. You had a little more time. So I'm guessing that was a big locker room celebration going to the Sweet 16, right? That must have been awesome.
Definitely was.
So Kansas, next up, tell us about what happened in the tunnel before that Kansas game.
We always brought this up. And I think it was just a little scuffle, just see which team could try and pump the other team. Obviously, we lost by 20, but I don't think we were intimidated at all, just by the name on their jersey. I think it was just we didn't have a good game that game. We weren't clicking on all cylinders, and it was a different matchup for us. So it was a good experience. And then, like I said, getting to play Kansas, in the Sweet 16, representing Richmond was a huge, accomplishment for us. But yeah, it's just a little scuffle.
Hey, curious, obviously we didn't win that game, but then VCU got to advance and play Kansas. Did you root for VCU to beat Kansas? Do you remember?
Honestly, I can't remember. But me
it's hard to root for VCU.
Yeah, so. It is. I'm friends with, I was friends with some of those guys on that team. So maybe individually I was rooting for them.
But I think that you corrected me last time. That was before they joined the A-10. So
yeah, that's right. They were the CAA team. But yeah, it was still. Right. I mean, that was when we played them only once a year. So like that game had even more meaning before they joined the A-10 because it was kind of a one-time thing versus the 2 times we've got now.
Darien, it's been 15 years. Is there anything about that Kansas game playing in it that still sticks with you today?
No, just the fact that, playing against future NBA guys, we obviously had a couple on our team as well, but just as a college kid, playing on that stage, just speaks volumes, I would say. But had we beat them and been able to play VCU, that would have been like one for the history books right there.
Absolutely.
Okay, well, let's jump ahead a bit to your some of these giant games you had as an upperclassman. So maybe start with that Charlotte game. The January 2013. Charlotte was 15-3. We were 12-7. We won by 20, 81-61, and you had 39 points. It's like the most we saw was the most a Spiders player had in over 40 years. So, like, just it's probably a game you like thinking about, right? When you're hot and you can't miss. But like, how do you reflect on that game and kind of what you're able to do?
Yeah, honestly, I didn't expect anything less. The reason why I say that is because I put in the work. And it always comes back to that. I was in the gym late at night, trying to perfect my shot and just understanding the game and, having a great coach and Coach Mooney being able to teach you how to play. I think that kind of helped me. And I came out hot, once you, as a shooter, you hit 1 or 2 go in, then it's a big giant hoop. So that's kind of the way that it felt. The team, they kept finding me and it happened to score 39 that night.
Yeah, it's a record 8 3-pointers, or tied with the record for 8 in a game. That's hot.
Does the does the crowd's cheer get louder and louder each time that one of those goes down? Do you remember that?
I think it does. Yeah, man. It's just a good feeling just to see it go in, and everybody's just coming to watch a show at that point. So.
Nice. Now you were 11 for 12 from the foul line in that game. Like, talk about how do you become a great foul line shooter? Like, is that just repetition in the gym, shooting more than 10 and, focusing on making. That was always my goal is, not how many I can, just make, but make them in a row and can't miss more than 2. So just kind of challenging yourself and being competitive with myself. So, yep.
Let's talk about the shot for a second. So, and everybody in Richmond still talks about the 3-pointer you hit with a second left, 1.5 seconds left.
And that was only 5 days after that Charlotte game. So you have this master class in the Charlotte game. You now have number 19 VCU coming to the Robins Center.
Walk us through that play. Tell us about like how that thing unfolded and what you were thinking when you released it.
Yeah. I kind of remember like it was yesterday. I'm a 3-point shooter, so, guys want to play me tight. I remember Cedric was, dribbling the ball, and we've worked on this a bunch of times in practice. He'll drive, I'll fake in and stop behind for a shot. That's partly our offense, so just happened to be a little bit deeper. But that's basically what happened. He drove to me. We kind of had that connection, throughout our career, and great point guard. He saw what happened. The guy went under on me, stopped behind, and, felt confident I was going to hit the shot. So
nice.
And you had a whole 1.5 seconds left to think about it.
I know.
Well, it was an awesome game. Like, maybe just talk some. We've mentioned VCU before, obviously, from the NCAA tournament. Like, what was that rivalry like for those 4 years that you were here?
Yeah, it was a dogfight. We always prepare for it, like you said, every single year. And it was probably one of the hardest weeks of practice to prepare for them. With the Havoc defense, And we always practice with 6 guys on the court to mimic it because, that's how they play. So it was always a dogfight against VCU. And I feel like it still is today,
Yeah.
to see who's the best in the city. But like I say, I have friends on that team. It's always a battle.
So we have a rapid fire round for you. So we're going to hit you with some things, and just whatever first comes to mind is the answer. So what's the best venue outside the Robins Center you played in?
Kansas.
Okay.
Okay, if there's one player you guarded, and let's not use a spider because I know you guard him in practice, but like, is there one player that you can remember that was like, oh, this guy's going to be a problem?
Jordan Crawford from Xavier.
Yeah.
It was good.
Game day meal. What was your go-to before a game to eat?
We always usually ate the same thing. So pasta with chicken.
Nice.
Would you have like is this like a team dinner in the dining hall? Is that
Yeah, we would do it in the Robins Center.
Robins Center? Yeah.
Yeah.
So you've been, I know you're not in Richmond now, but spent a lot of time in Richmond. At least back then, what was your kind of favorite place to go eat?
Oh, that's a tough one. Oh, man. Oh, I would have to pass. I'm not sure. Oh my goodness.
That's okay.
Let's say it was the pier.
Yeah.
I guess we called it back then, the pier.
On campus.
Well, no, it could have been off campus, but we'll act like the pier and was the
Pine's
greatest
Pub
food.
still around back then, or did it close by then? Did it change names?
It might have been still around.
Okay.
I don't remember.
Actually, you know what? Take that back. My favorite place, I would say, was oh my God, it was a burger place that I would go to after every game. Oh my goodness. I don't know if they still have it. I'll have to look it up and get back to you.
Yeah. Not a chain, not one of these chains. You're talking about a Richmond place. Yeah.
Who's the funniest guy in that 2011 locker room?
I would say Kevin Smith.
Okay.
I can see that.
Who wins at a game of horse between you, David Gonzalves, and Nick Sherrod?
Probably Gonzo.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do you stay in touch with a lot of those teammates? I know Kevin's coaching at Fordham. Like, is there like a Facebook group or a text group where you guys are chatting about what's going on?
Yeah. We have a big group chat going on. We all stay in contact, see what each other's up to, talking hoops and just life in general. So it's still good to have that, that tight knit with all those guys.
Let's talk for a minute about your overseas career. You played in some pretty cool places. I think Sweden, Finland, Hungary, maybe Spain. What was the biggest culture shock you experienced overseas?
I would say obviously the language. The language barrier. A lot of the coaches and some of the players, they spoke English, but just getting around town and asking for certain things, it was a little difficult. So.
Did you have a favorite place when you look back of kind of whether it was the team or the location, like where you kind of liked it the most?
Yeah, I think it was my first year in a town called Melilla, Spain. It was right on the beach, and it was literally
Nice.
60 to 70 all year round. I would say that's probably my favorite place.
Nice. What was the highlight you remember? Kind of similar to either the Sweet 16 game or the shot against VCU in your post Richmond career. What was your favorite memory, favorite moment?
My favorite moment would be my second year in Orense. We actually won a championship. It was probably the biggest moment after, my college career, getting another championship, which was nice. So that would probably be it.
Did you run into other Spiders when you played internationally?
I did. Yeah. My, years in Finland, I actually played against Gonzo. I had mentioned earlier, played against him a couple of times, so that was pretty neat.
Nice.
When
you we've talked about Aiden Argerbright earlier, who's kind of was on the all rookie team, a local kid. Like, I don't know if you've ever talked to him, but let's say you had a moment to like sit down with Aiden about like, hey, now you've had a great freshman year. Like, this is what it's going to take. Like, what would be some of the messages you'd give him or any sort of player who's trying to go from being good to a Hall of Famer?
Yeah. That's a great question. I think what I would tell him, I've watched him play and he's a tremendous player, super high IQ. I would just tell him to keep working on his game and be aggressive. even if you're becoming a sophomore, still try to be that leader on that team. And that can definitely take you a long way. So
I mentioned Hall of Fame. What was that like when you got inducted into the Hall of Fame? Was it 3 years ago or so?
yeah, 3 years ago. Yeah, it was a surreal experience. It was a huge honor. Just especially being local and playing for Richmond and having my whole family there and my wife and kids. It was such a great honor. And it speaks highly of the program and something I can always look back on and appreciate.
Nice.
Yeah.
We both married spiders, and I think you did too. So
I
tell us a
did.
little. Yeah, tell us your origination story.
Yeah, so my wife, she played at Richmond. She played lacrosse there. Was a legend at Richmond lacrosse, still has her name on some of the record books. So we kind of linked back up while I was overseas, and I came home to visit her in New York, and then we kind of kicked it off ever since. We're married. We have 2 kids, and they're getting into sports as well. So
That's awesome.
such a
Yeah,
nice.
that's great. And when we were kind of arranging this interview, you're been coaching now too. So what's that been like? How long you've been coaching for a bit, or is this new? Kind of what are your aspirations? I know Chris Mooney always says like he would never recommend anyone getting into coaching. He makes fun of there was an interview I saw him with Zach Chu and with others where he's like, I never told these guys to do this, but you're starting to dabble into coaching a little bit. Like how's that going?
Yeah, it's great. I just finished up my 2nd year here at a local high school in my town. It's been a great experience. Just being able to give back to the community and teaching the younger generation, just the game of basketball and trying to shed as much knowledge that I've learned over the years to them. And it's been great. Like I said, we made it to the playoffs this past year in a few years, first time in a few years. A lot of accomplishments, coached some good players. So it's been a journey, and I'll definitely try to continue coaching. So it's been fun.
And you're up in Massachusetts, so you're a professional snow shoveler
Oh man.
after the last couple of months.
Oh yeah, it's been tough. It's been tough up here for sure.
Darien, yesterday here, I'm not kidding. It was, I think, 87 degrees, and outside right now it's 35, and there's snow all over the ground. We had a massive front roll through. I'm keep wiping my nose because I developed a little bit of a cold. I apologize, but like it all just changed so quickly.
Oh man, hope you feel better. That's
Well, hey, obviously, kind of a Hall of Famer. Your name's in the record books. Like, what do you want fans to remember you for the most?
I would say just being a hard worker. Just always competing and being a great shooter. I would say that, just a great teammate. So
Nice.
Well, that's awesome.
Well, Darien, thank you so much for being a great Spider, for being just a wonderful ambassador of Richmond men's basketball, and we appreciate you coming on Spider Sound Off. Really enjoyed hearing more about your story after college, and look forward to seeing you in the Robin Center sometime.
I appreciate it. Hopefully soon, and I appreciate you guys for having me.
Yeah, thanks, Darien.
Thank you.
We will try to be funny and entertain.